Hey guys, and welcome to Trash with a capital T. I'm your host Bobby, and here we give trashy books and movies the love they truly deserve. And some deserve more than others. Alright, so, cheesy intro aside, I'm going to get this part out of the way here, and I'll probably repeat at the end. But, channel's growing, so if you like what you see, give me a like. All that interaction does help push the videos forward. And if you want to keep seeing new stuff, subscribe. I got new videos coming out every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so today, in honor of this being spooky season, and I surprisingly have not done a lot of horror content this month, yet I thought I would talk about a little lost gem from the video store era and the cable era, which is actually how I originally found it. I'm going to be talking about 1995's The Granny. For those of you who have never heard of this movie, and that's probably a bunch of you, because this was not the people who have seen it love it, but it is not a widely known film. This film was directed by Luca Bercovici, who is the director of Ghoulies, and that is from 1984. If you guys will probably recognize that cover, I'll probably pop it up. It is the little fish-looking dude popping out of the toilet. He was a B-movie regular. He worked with people like Charles Band, who did Ghoulies. And he directed this film with Stella Stevens and Shannon Whirry. Stella Stevens, very famous actress. This was kind of towards, I'm not going to say the end of her career, because she acted well into she just recently passed away, but she's continued to act well into old age. So I think, let me pull it up. I'm going to see when she actually passed away. She just passed away recently, if I can get the information. She passed away in 2023 at 84, and she was acting until 2010. So she was acting for a long time, but I most love her as Linda Rogo in The Poseidon Adventure. That is one of my all-time favorite films. Plenty of funny stories about me recreating that movie with my G.I. Joes, but that's not the movie we're here to talk about today. So Stella Stevens plays Granny, the title character, and that is how she is billed. She is billed as Granny. And she is joined by erotic thriller legend Shannon Whirry. And I don't mean to say that in a bad way. So Shannon Whirry, this is actually very interesting. She is actually not a bad actress. She's actually quite a good actress. She has to be the straight man in this movie, so she doesn't actually get the most fun stuff. But in her other stuff, her late night stuff, she actually came off pretty good. There's a really weird ass movie she did called Private Obsession, which that one is available. If you get a chance to see it and you're old enough to see it, it is bizarre. Basically, she in that movie is like this famous supermodel who gets kidnapped by an incel who tries to turn her into the perfect wife, and she is not having it. And it gets it's interesting. But yeah, so we have Shannon Whirry here, who comes from that kind of world of doing the erotic thrillers. She was one of two Shannons who was very busy at the time. It was her and Shannon Tweed, who both, also did some horror movies and stuff like that. There was a lot of crossover. And they're kind of the headliners. The rest of the cast, I'm trying to go through here, other than I want to say a cameo by Anthony Hickox, who is the director of Waxworks. You really don't have a ton of people who went on to be big name brands, but these are all regular B-movie actors or TV actors. Ryan Bowman is in here. He plays one of the kids. He's like the older brother who is obsessed with wrestling, which comes into play later. But really, you don't have a big notable cast. But I have to say, for a B-movie of this style, because this is more of a comedy than horror, the cast is really strong. It's really strong. And they play the jokes really well. Comedy is hard, and this one actually gets the timing pretty right. So, general plot, because I'm wandering around here. The general plot is Granny, Stella Stevens, knows that her time is almost up. But she wants to make sure that her greedy, grubby family does not get her money or her insurance. The only person in her family who takes any care of her is, I want to say it's Kelly? Kelly, played by Shannon Whirry. But she needs to take steps, Granny needs to take steps to make sure that her family can't get what they want. So she contacts someone, played by the director, Luca Bercovici, whose name just stumbles out of my mouth for some reason. You think with my last name, which I'm not going to say, but with my last name, you'd think I'd be good with that because I got an Italian last name that people stumble over constantly. So Luca, I feel ya. But the director does play this part. She purchases a magic potion that is supposed to give her eternal life. And there are a bunch of rules to follow, as there always are with potions like this. And of course, those rules don't all get followed, and things go badly. Very badly. But in a kind of hilarious way. You get a lot of B-movie, gross-out kind of gags. None of this is super gory. Like, it's very of the budget that it had. It's bloody. It's got some goofiness. There are some really goofy little puppet moments. Stella Stevens' makeup is hilarious. She's got this whole like fright wig thing going on. It is just camp. Now, sadly, because there is no legal way to watch this, there's no DVD, there is no Blu Ray. Most likely, the only thing available is a VHS copy of it, like a master copy, which who knows the state of that. So this movie is probably going to eventually be lost. So I would highly recommend check it out while you can. I was one of the lucky people who initially caught this on cable. This was something that popped up on, Cinemax, Showtime, all of that in the early days of cable. Usually late at night. I want to say this wasn't like a late night movie. There's nudity, don't get me wrong, but it's not like a late night movie. This is like, it's a goofy B movie, so it would pop up later. I don't know if this ever ended up on USA Up All Night. This kind of feels like something that would. I would love to hear Gilbert Gottfried's intros and interstitials for this kind of movie. Oops, sorry, bumped my cord. But yeah, so if you have the chance, if this sounds at all entertaining to you, and I highly do recommend this. It is really fun. It's not a long movie. It's about 80 minutes. It flies by. There is a ton of goofiness. And like I said, it's funny. And funny is hard to do on purpose. This one does it. I put a lot of that on Stella Stevens. She is a very talented actress. And she knew comedic timing. And she does take on a lot of the jokes. Shannon, Whirry, like I said, plays kind of the straight man to everyone else. So everyone else gets to be really big and over the top. And Shannon Whirry is kind of like the put upon niece who's taking care of her aunt, and yeah, like she doesn't get a lot of the fun stuff until the end of the movie when like the cleavage comes out and she gets a shotgun. But otherwise, it's a great film if you're in the mood for it. I highly recommend hunting it down if you can. I will say this: if you want a physical copy and you're looking to get a VHS, the cost of those the VHS copies, is not really worth it. I think the cheapest I saw was $90. And like I said, this movie came out in 95, so who knows the state of that VHS right now. Because VHS hunting, and I've done it, I have several old movies that just never made it to DVD, or the DVDs are super expensive on VHS. And it's a crapshoot with the quality you're going to get. Some of those are really starting to deteriorate. Which sucks, because that means the time is running out on this. Now, there are digital copies, but they're not official digital copies floating around. And I can't tell you specifically where to get them. Because again, I don't know who owns the rights, or if this is just somehow snuck into the public domain, or if they even care, or if someone is trying to survive or revive this movie. I hope someone is, because we had that, there was a movie called Spookies. That was a very odd film. I saw it again around the same time I saw this. Very odd film, but it was thought lost. And it wasn't a movie that people were really chomping at the bit for, but it did have a little bit of a cult following. And someone managed to find a master copy, and now we got a Blu Ray. We've got, it's on Tubi, it's everywhere. Hopefully something like that happens with The Granny, but I'm not really holding out hope. This isn't one of those movies that like has that strong cult following yet. I think if enough people see this one, it could develop it. And I would love to see this turn into something that people really want to save, because movies like this, once they're lost, they're gone. And sadly, VHS is not a format that is going to be lasting for much longer. And even DVDs aren't lasting. I know this was actually one you would regularly see in, like, when I would go to, like, comic book conventions and they would have those hard to find out of print movies, like the bootlegs. You would see tables selling these all over the place. I don't know if it's still that kind of movie. I hope it is. But, you know, it is sad to me to think that in not very long, this movie could be gone forever. So, see it while you can. And obviously, if you enjoyed this kind of movie, if you enjoyed Ghoulies, you're going to enjoy this. It's very similar in tone. It's definitely more R-rated than Ghoulies was. This one definitely amps up the R. It's a little more sleazy. Ghoulies was very PG-13 by design. This one is definitely for the grown-ups. There are some great adults-only sight gags and stuff like that. Nothing super extreme, but, you know, it's fun. And it's definitely one, if you got a couple buddies and you got a couple drinks and, like, maybe order a pizza and you'll have a blast. You'll have a blast. I'm not going to recommend chemicals, but, you know, if you got them, might help. Okay, guys. I'm going to wrap this up here because, you know, I said everything that needs to be said. If you want to find the granny, you got to do some hunting, but it's definitely worth it. And if you, like me, caught this when it first came out and either saw it on cable or rented it from the video store because it did have a great cover, which you've probably been seeing in some corner of this screen while we've been talking, talk about it in the comments. I would love to hear how people found this movie. And if you do see it and you like it, let me know. And if you see it and you hate it, let me know. Okay, so the general housekeeping. If you like the video, like. If you want to see more content, subscribe. New videos come out every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And that'll be all for this one. So love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. And have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.